Christ is risen.
Indeed, he is risen.
Who remembers what we talked about last time? Adults? Natalie?
We talked about names of things.
I'm sure we did.
Dollar Church.
We talked about the Easter season. We talked about the anaphora.
Pascha.
The anaphora. Yes, we talked about Pascha. So today we've come through the liturgy to what comes next? Communion. We're talking about communion today. So, right before communion, the priest says, holy things for the holy. Right? Holy things for the holy. What's that talking about?
Holy things for the saints.
For the saints, yes. And holy things are?
God's.
The Eucharist. Yes, God. So it's God's things for God's people. That's what that means. Holy things for the saints. And we are, in the scriptural sense, we are saints, because saint means holy, right? It means set apart or consecrated. And how are we consecrated? Adults?
By
Baptism. St. Paul calls us a holy nation, a royal priesthood. We're set apart as God's people. Set apart from the other nations, the pagans. And so in communion, when we receive the holy things for holy people, this is an expression of our being united with Christ in God, because we are members of his body, the church. Right? This is an expression of our relationship with God. So, that's what communion is. And after holy things for the holy, the priest prepares the chalice. Now, do you know one of the things he does with the chalice? Maybe you see that as I'm preparing, one of the servers brings me a little pitcher. Do you know what that is? It's hot water. Now, why would the priest put hot water in the chalice before communion? Adults?
I always wondered.
When you receive communion, it's warm, right? Because living flesh that's alive is warm, it's not cold. So we put hot water in the chalice as a reminder that though we are receiving Christ's body and blood, it's not dead flesh. It's not dead flesh, it's living flesh. Because Christ our God rose from the dead. And he gives us in communion his life. He gives us his life. So we put boiling water in the chalice to make it warm. Now who can receive communion? Claire? People who have been baptized? Yes. Any other requirements? Natalie?
Everybody can if you're baptized and if you believe in Christ
If you're baptized, if you believe in Christ, yes.
And if you're the right, it's called, if you're in the right church.
What I hear?
Oh,
Someone.
if you're in a state of grace.
If you're in a state of grace, yes, that's very important. Now, what does that mean? To be in the state of grace. Adults?
To be without mortal sin.
To be without mortal sin. Okay, let's put that in more people-friendly terms. What does that mean? To be with God in heaven? Yes, but we're still on earth. So what does that mean here on earth? We're talking in terms of relationships. In terms of relationships. The communion is an expression of our relationship with God, our oneness with God. So what would damage that? What would make it so we can't receive communion? Sin, yes. So being in a state of mortal sin, as we say, this means that relationship is broken. So we've done something to break that relationship with God. That's what mortal sin is. Mortal means death, deathly, means your relationship is dead. That's why it's called a mortal sin. Your relationship is dead. So if you punch your sister, right? she gets really mad at you, that's going to damage your relationship, right? And until you apologize, she's not going to want to talk to you, right? And if you try to bring her flowers or something to make her forget, well, that's just more offensive. So if we've sinned, if we've done something to break our relationship with God, we can't receive communion because that's going to be even more offensive. Because it's like saying, look how close and loving we are, even though you've done this thing, right? So you need to ask forgiveness for that thing that you've done before you can then receive communion. And why do you have to be baptized to receive communion?
To get rid of the Lord's sin.
Well, sort of, but no.
To become children of God.
To become children of God, become members of the church, right? So here's a question. How often do you hug people that you've never met? The first time you meet them? Pretty rarely, right? Why?
Because you don't know them.
Because you don't know them. And what is a hug? Or a kiss, if you know?
It's love.
It's a love, but it's an expression of your relationship with that person, right? Communion is the same thing. It's an expression of our relationship with God. So if you're not a member of the church, right, if you don't know someone, how could you come up and hug them? Right? You have to be made a member of the church. You have to get to know the person. You have to be made one of God's family, one of God's children. Right? So, back to mortal sin, I said, right, that it's more offensive if you're baptized, but then you've done something, you've stolen something or killed someone or done something really bad. That's what it's really bad. Well, you need to go to confession. And we're going to talk later about confession, but confession is coming up and asking for forgiveness, saying, look, I'm sorry that I did this. I'm not going to do it again. Will you forgive me? That's what confession is. Then, of course, God forgives us, and he welcomes us back with a big old hug. Right? Like the father of the prodigal son. Welcomes him back with an open embrace. Puts shoes on his feet and a ring on his finger and kills a fatted calf to celebrate that his son has come home. That's what confession is. So, but we don't receive, not because it's a punishment. You're not allowed to receive in the state of mortal sin, not because it's a punishment, but because it's for your own good. For your own good. And the same reason why the unbaptized can't receive, because it's for your own good. St. Paul says in his first letter to the Corinthians, whoever therefore eats the bread or drinks the cup of the Lord in an unworthy manner will be answerable for the body and blood of the Lord. Examine yourselves, and only then eat of the bread and drink of the cup. For all who eat and drink without discerning the body eat and drink judgment against themselves. Sounds pretty scary. You're guilty of the body and blood if you receive unworthily. That's why, in some places, some churches have a rule that you're not allowed to receive communion unless you went to confession that week. Imagine that. You have to go to Vespers the night before and go to confession to receive communion on Sunday. We don't have that rule in our church, but it's not a bad idea. Right? That way there's no risk of drinking judgment unto yourself. Okay, we've covered that. How do we receive communion? When the priest comes up and he says, approach with the fear of God and with faith, how do we receive? Natalie?
We receive bowing.
Bowing?
No.
Well, we make a bow, but you can't receive. How am I supposed to put communion in your mouth if you're bowing? What do you do? What do you do when you're standing in line? That's right. You cross your hands across your chest. This means you're going to receive communion. Get your hands out of the way so that I can give you communion, right? And then you come up. Now, when do you bow? Before. When the person in front of you is communing, you make sign of the cross and 2 bows like this. And then you cross your hands over your chest and you come up. And how do you receive? Stand nice and straight. You don't need to.
go like this.
Yeah, but that's because they're really tall. You don't need to do that. You're short enough. Cross your hands across your chest. Tilt your head back. Open your mouth. Don't stick your tongue out. Don't say anything. Otherwise, I'm going to spill. Right? If you try to say something or whatever, you're going to hit the spoon with your lips, and I'm going to spill, and that's really bad. So open your mouth, stand still, and then I turn the spoon upside down over your mouth, and put the particle in, and if you feel that the precious blood has gotten on your lips or your chin or something, then you take the cloth and you wipe your mouth.
Can you
Usually,
lick it off?
what's that?
Can you lick it off?
Well, I'm not going to lick it off.
Well, can
But-
I lick it off?
Well, yes, but the cloth is there so that you can wipe. Sometimes it drips down on the bottom of your chin, you have to wipe it off. Now, I've trained the servers to wipe it off if they see something. But we might miss, so you have to be careful. And again, in some places, every single person wipes their mouth whether they feel anything or not. That's okay. That's just being safe, just being careful. And again, if you're not very tall, some of us here are very tall, adults. If you're not very tall, if you're just my height or shorter, stand as just perfectly straight. No need to bend or crouch or any of these other things. Okay? Any questions? Adults? Natalie? Okay. Very good. Welcome to our guests.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you after the retreat.